Well, hi there, and welcome to the break room. Listen, let me ask you, have you ever wondered why, you set your self care goals and you start off strong, but then you lose your momentum? It's okay. We're going to get into that and uncover why that happens today in the break room. And we're going to talk about small steps to a lifestyle of self care. So, again, welcome to the break room. If this is your first time here, so glad that you came. And if you have been hanging out with us for a while, appreciate you as well for coming back. And so the break room is our self-care safe space where we escape from our day-to-day so that we can get refreshed, recharged, and renewed, and then return back to our task at hand. And so I am Deetra Dennis. I am the self-care coach for nurses. I empower multi-passionate nurses to prioritize the care of their MVP. And you are the MVP, the most valuable patient, so that you can show up as the best version of yourself and impact the well being of those connected to you. And so I'm so glad again that you're here. If you are tuning in on YouTube, go ahead and become a part of the community and subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, go ahead and like the video and share this with someone else you feel could value or benefit from what we talk about here in the break room. So again, going back to the small steps to a lifestyle of self-care. And I want to go back as well to that question. Why are we yo-yoing, if you will, when it comes to our goals? We start off strong and we would pause. We start off strong and then we pause. So there are three reasons, well, three that we're going to highlight today that may contribute to that yo-yo behavior, right? So the first one, we may be overwhelmed. Do you get overwhelmed when it comes to setting those goals? And I know for me, when I get overwhelmed with things, it's like, okay, forget it. And, you start off again strong. And then after a while, maybe a few weeks, and if we want to be honest, it could be, a few days. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to go back to my old way of doing things. Okay, raise your hand in the chat if that's you. The second one is that you get frustrated because if you don't see, immediate shifts in your lifestyle behaviors or changes or things of that nature, it's like, okay, you know what? I don't see anything. So I'm just going to go back to my old way of doing things. So being overwhelmed and getting frustrated. And then the last one is that we freeze. We get paralyzed or we get stuck because we start thinking about all the things that are going to go into it, the challenges that may come upon us. And, what comes to mind is what we talked about, the perfectionism, or being a perfectionist when it comes to setting things. We talked about this in the all or nothing thinking as a multi-passionate nurse, and I'll leave the link to that in the description. But, when we get into that perfectionism, that also causes us to freeze. One other thing, that comes to mind when I think about, what causes us to have that yo-yoing or really not sticking to our goals is that, part of when we get overwhelmed and we're stressed out and distracted, what happens, the brain center, the amygdala part of our brain, the fight, flight, or freeze part of our brain center is activated. And what happens? It causes us to stop in our tracks because, again, we're overwhelmed and we're frustrated and we're stressed out and distracted. So it just causes us to pause and freeze. And so this is why it is important for us to take small steps. And I think many times it is underestimated the power that is in taking small steps. So, and the song that came to mind as I was preparing for this was Bobby Brown, Every Little Step I Take. Yeah, take those small steps, right? The importance of doing that. And so a small step, I want to have a little history lesson, just a very small one. So, because I wanted to know, how did the small step concept or method or principles came about? And so it actually, the small step principle, if you will, came about, and it's a Japanese word that's called kaizen, Kaz as in zebra, En. And again, a little history lesson about it. It actually means improvement or taking small steps. And so this process was developed in World War II by the American management theorists to help rebuild the Japanese factories. And so they used the Kaizen approach to rebuild their economy, when to grow the companies like Toyota and Honda from their humble competitors into global automotive giants. Now, I'm not saying we're automotive giants, but we're talking about the principle of the small step and how you get big rewards from taking those small steps. And so when we're able to focus and be specific with our goals, it can be increasing your job performance, or again, if it's to maintain or sustain your goals, small steps are very powerful. And what the Kaizen principles do, that continuous improvement, that you can utilize this in every area of your life, be it in your personal, be it at work, be it with your social life, in every area of your life. So I want to talk about a little bit the power of small steps. And so we're just going to highlight three. I like to keep it brief here with us. So three. The first one that comes to mind is that with taking those small steps, it provides direction. It's like our roadmap. It guides and directs us, and it causes us to get focused and organized and not overwhelmed. Remember, being overwhelmed is what has us stuck or in that yo-yo type of behavior. So by coming over here with the small steps, it provides direction for us, and it makes it more manageable when it's small steps, right? Think of when you are traveling, and I know in the olden days, when you had a map, you had to follow step by step in order to get to your destination. And the same thing with the GPS, is not going to tell you everything at once. It tells you a little bit at a time until you arrive to your destination. Right. And this is not a destination. This is a journey that we're talking about, a lifestyle. Right. So number one, again, it provides direction. Number two, it increases your motivation. And so when you have small wins, listen, it's a sense of progress when you see that small step and you've been able to, again, win in that particular area by taking that small step. And it helps to transform those ambitious goals into something small, again, more manageable. And then the third one is it enhances our self-esteem. And I know you might be thinking, girl, you're reaching now. No, listen, hear me out. How it enhances your self-esteem. And so again, with those small wins, listen, you start to get confident, with your head up high and your shoulders back, because listen, it gives you a sense of pride and accomplishment because you've had those small wins. You agree? Listen, I'm telling you, I know from experience how that does makes you have that sense of pride when you've had that small win, and it gives you encouragement to, again, that motivation to keep going and keep doing it to reach that, to achieve your goals. And ultimately, it creates a lifestyle of self-care. And so the small steps, again, are useful to make lifestyle changes and to keep the momentum, right? So remember, in the beginning, I said we start strong and then we lose momentum. But by having those small steps, it helps you to maintain the momentum and sustain a lifestyle of self-care. And so this is why I have created, or will launch during Nurses Week, a 5-day nurse self-care challenge. I am so excited about it because it gives us that opportunity to put the small steps into action, make it very manageable. And I'll share more details, in the weeks to come, when registration and all of that will open. But again, I just want to let you know, listen, it's coming. It's coming for you to be able to do that. And we talked about last week the cost of self-sacrificing as a nurse. And listen, we know from that, we talked about how that is not serving us well. And continuing that way, we know that is not serving us well. So I'm going to say it to you like this, or ask you like this, how Kirk Franklin would say it. Do you want a revolution? I know you. I hear you saying yes. So yes, it is time for a revolution so that we can take our power back through self-care. And you know what? Understanding that we can still serve others and preserve ourselves. That is so important. So again, stay tuned for more information about the nurse self-care, the 5-day nurse self-care challenge. I'm so excited. This is the inaugural one. This is the first one. So, come on, be a part of the revolution. So I want to, would love to hear from you. What small steps have you taken to create a lifestyle of self-care? Or what small steps would you like to take to create a lifestyle of self-care? So I would love to hear from you in the comments with that. And I thank you so much for tuning in to our time together here in the break room. And remember to like the video and share with someone who you feel would find value, just like you have on today in what we've talked about. So our quote for today: well-being is realized in small self-care activities every day. Keep focusing on the small steps, and they will add up to big rewards in your life. So again, thank you for our time together today, and I wish you health and well-being. So I will see you on next week.